Hi, Ipsita. Good morning. Okay, let's start. Okay. In last class, we have been talking about CloudWatch, right? CloudWatch log groups, CloudTrail, etc. CloudWatch is a monitoring tool. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. CloudWatch, right? In last class, we are talking about CloudWatch. And we already know about dashboards, alarms, and also CloudWatch log groups. And we also talked about CloudTrail and CloudTrail by default logs all the events that is happening in your AWS console. And if you want to save these events, you can create a CloudTrail, uh, and then it will create a S3 bucket and log all the details, all the events happening within the S3 console. And here, uh, from while creating the CloudTrail, we have an option of logging them in CloudWatch logs. So what is difference between these S3 logs, where if you opt for CloudTrail, it will create an S3 bucket and logs all the details, all the event uh, logs in your S3 bucket. And then we have CloudWatch logs. So these two are different. S3 logs or CloudTrail logs, which uses S3 to log the data, or just logs, whereas CloudWatch logs will help you to monitor the activity, right? And we have already discussed this. If you say enable CloudWatch, it will ask you to create a role and it will automatically create a log group. So here, you no need to go to IAM and create, just you should mention the name. So Cloud Trail log. Let us call it as events 3. And we don't want this KMS, mm, right, which uses encryption. So log file validation, SNS is not there, and that's it. Next. We want management events, and we know what data events and insight events are, right? Data events are related to objects or data. And insight events, if you want to know unusual patterns, unusual activity, errors, then go for insight events. That's it. And then next. Okay, create trail. And we are also talking about VPC flow logs, right? So we have created this one, management S3. This is CloudTrail. If you want to stop logging, you can stop. Why? Because it logs an S3 bucket. If you don't feel that these logs are necessary, you can stop logging here. So stop logging. I'll delete it later. And you can see in the CloudWatch, we have created CloudWatch log group. This one. And let us create VPC flow logs. In last class we are trying to do. Let us create one more. I already have one here. Let's go to VPC and create a flow log. In also in actions you will get the same menu, create flow log. And what these flow log will do is it will capture the IP traffic flow. If you want to monitor your application, it's not real time monitoring. It might take some time to reflect. It's not in very real in time. 5 minutes or so. It takes 5 minutes or so to reflect the IP traffic. Suppose if there are any rejected websites, if you're using customized URLs allowing only certain traffic to your VPC, or if you want to monitor rejected traffic, rejected applications, uh, so this flow log will help you. Say this is my VPC flow log. And the type of traffic, do you want accepted traffic to be logged or rejected traffic to be logged or all? Let us go for all. And a maximum aggregation interval. So this is does the aggregation of packets that is captured in the flow log record. Let us keep it as 10 minutes only default. Destination, you can send them to S3 bucket, but we will send it to CloudWatch logs by default. It's there. So we will leave it as is. And destination log group. So here I'll go and create one log group. Create log group. Say my VPC flow log group. Retention settings, by default it is never expire. If you want this log group to to set an expiry date or a active period, so you can set. So say I want this log group only for 60 days, yes I can say. If you say never expire, it will be active always. Create. Now we have created our VPC flow log group. Let's go here and select the destination group. It's not there. Refresh. It's there now. And I am role. So here I am role. We don't have an option called new I am role, but here itself we have set up permissions. From here itself you can create an I am role. And when you click on set up permissions, you can see the new tab and it has named it as flow logs role. Okay, flow logs role, policy name. Let's view the policy. So this flow log role is already there. It's a default role. And when you click on this setup permissions, it adds this I am role. And if you look into this role, It gives access to create log group, create log stream, describe log groups, describe log streams, and pull log events. Right? Why? Because here we are writing VPC traffic into a log group. So when one service is using other service, we need IAM role. Yes, we can say allow. Okay, and go to IAM role, flow logs role. That is the role name, right? So flow logs role, we have selected it. And then log record. This is log record format. There will be version, account ID, interface ID, and other things. Source address, destination address. So let us keep it as AWS default format. And now create log flow log. So how it monitors the traffic coming into the VPC and traffic going out of the VPC is by monitoring ENIs, Elastic Network Interfaces, EC2. We talked about ENIs, right? Network interfaces. Right now, we have these many network interfaces. So network interfaces of default subnets. And this is some RDS network interface, database network interface. And this is EFS network interface, sorry. So these are the subnets that are used by these things. EFS. Uh, do we have three EFS? Okay, anyway, EFS. We have created a EFS, Elastic File System, and it's available in 1C, 1B, 1A. This EFS is available for all three availability zones. That's why. The three interfaces are there, a network interface in each availability zone. What is this network interface? Network interface allows traffic to go outside and to come inside. And it is related to like something called a NIC card, network interface card. In our laptops, we will be having this. Not only laptops, any IP enabled devices. If a device is connecting to internet means it will have a hardware called network interface card, and then it will support the network stack protocol. So same way here we are creating virtual EC2s and EFS, which is shared within the network of computers, RDS databases. So they also need network interfaces. So far I have EFS, RDS, and this one, this is instance. You can see instance ID. So I have an EC2 instance, and I have created EFS, and it is available in three availability zones, and that's why three network interfaces, one in each subnet. And then RDS, Relational Database Service, for that one network interface. So all these are in the VPC. So the VPC flow logs the data of the traffic related to this ENI. Traffic coming in through this ENI from the network. The network can be private network or internet, both. And traffic going out, IP traffic going out and IP traffic coming in. It can be private network or it can be public network. So we have all these ENIs. So now how we can create logs here? By generating traffic. So let's go to EC2 instance. I already created one. Let us start it. And also HTTPD service is running in it. Start instance. Connect. So I have already installed HTTPD service. Okay, fail to start. Yes, we have this folder and HTTPD service is there. So then we'll say pin google.com. So some IP traffic is going outside of the VPC. Now let's go to CloudWatch and check our flow logs. And here are the network interfaces. And this is the latest one. See flow logs. And we also have log insights. Select log group and you can edit the query if you want to add any filters or increase the time limit. Yes, and run query. And I can see 715 uh, the traffic that's going out. Okay, sometimes it takes 5 or 10 minutes to log the traffic. So it's not real time. And if you want to log the values in real time, if you want to monitor in real time, then we have streams. CloudWatch log streams. It will stream real time data. You can monitor real time traffic, create a metric stream, and it uses S3 or you Kinesis delivery stream. So Kinesis is a stream engine. It can stream data If you want in real time, you have to stream the log faster. You don't want that 5 or 10 minutes latency. You want to know that traffic logging or any service logging in real time, then go for CloudWatch streams. And they have here we have Explorer, where you can create chats of related to metrics. Suppose it is EC2, we have CPU utilization. Suppose S3, you want to know how many GET requests are coming to the S3. So here you can set an explorer for metrics, and all metrics is there. I have DynamoDB, EBS, EC2, EFS, all these metrics are there. SageMaker. So far I have these services. I have created or deleted these services in recent times. So I have only these set of services here under the metrics. So RDS, S3, logs, SageMaker, all these things. And then we have one more thing called events. Let us go and stop it. And here one more thing we have called events. Events we already know what are events are. We have looked into the event history of CloudTrail. So anything, any change that is happening, any change in the status of any service. Suppose you have changed from stop to start, or you have created one new service, deleted, updated, added tags, accessed it, read it, or updated it, all are events. And here we have something called as event bridge. And in this, you can write rules. So CloudWatch events is now Amazon Event Bridge. So this is formerly called as Amazon Event Bridge. Now they have changed the console and also changed the name. Now it is just called as events, and rules event buses are there. So what this events or rules under the events does is you can track any event. Already monitoring is there, we know. You can track any event. If you want to get notified about any event, you can create a rule. Or if you want to trigger any action when certain event occurs, you can do it here. Say for example, if someone adds object into the S3 bucket, as a S3 admin, I should get a SMS or email. Or if anyone adds data into S3, I should run a Lambda function which triggers some other action. Some other action means it has to send notification to web application, or it triggers some other action related to DynamoDB table, that is sending S3 data into DynamoDB table. So if S3 event occurs, then I'll run Lambda function, and this Lambda function writes the S3 data into DynamoDB table. Or mainly for monitoring, mainly for generating notifications alerts, we have this event bridge, formerly called as event bridge. Now it's called as CloudWatch events. So what this CloudWatch does, it's a launched new features such as custom event buses, third-party event sources, and schema registry to better support our customers in the space of event-driven architecture and applications. So we have event buses here. We can create a event bus. Event bus is nothing to track API calls, put events, these things you can create an event bus. Just add a permission. That's it. Permission for third party like applications or third party AWS accounts or organization. If to monitor your CloudWatch. See, this is CloudWatch, and this CloudWatch scope is my console. this console. So this is my ID, and within here I can create, monitor, use this CloudWatch, write rules, CloudWatch log groups, etc. I can know about all the monitoring. This is the monitoring dashboard. However, if my organization want to come, or other AWS accounts, say my organization is using multiple AWS accounts and they want to monitor um, metrics, events happening in this, then I have to create a event bus and add permission to them here. And going back to rules, let us create a rule. And you can like write a rule to trigger and to invoke the target, and we can also schedule events. So see event pattern, let's say service name. You can directly give say EC2. If I want to monitor EBS volume notification, only specific events. If any additional volume has been added, attach, if someone attaches an extra volume, I should get SNS notification. So I'll add target here. And here we can also make use of CloudTrail. So here if I mention EC2, this rule will be only for EC2. And again, within the EC2, the event type is EBM volume notification. So if I want to apply rule to all the services, then it's better to use CloudTrail. Where it is? Let us delete this. They are arranged in alphabetical order. So API gateway, CloudTrail. Okay, so here in event types we will choose. So here let us choose EC2 only. And rather than going for all events, I can I can mention certain event, or I can use API call via CloudTrail. And any operation related to ECT, if you want to monitor any operation or specific operation, let's say specific operation, and I want update only when there is stop instance or delete instance. So say stop instance, some instance is stopped, I should get a notification. CloudWatch. Since we are using API calls via CloudTrail, the event name should match with the name used by CloudTrail. If you see event history, say stop. detach instances, export EC2 instances. So all these are event names. Suppose I want to know about stop instances. Okay, stop instances. Okay, stop instances. Okay, stop instances is the right name. If you're using API call by CloudTrail, so this event name has to be the same as in CloudTrail. So it is when you're using API calls by CloudTrail, it's better to cross verify the names. S is capital, I is capital, and it's stop instances. And we should use the same name here, stop instances, S is there. So if this event occurs, then only I'll add some target. And what is this target? If this event occurs, this target will get invoked. If it is SNS topic, let us create one SNS topic. We already know how SNS works. SNS, simple notification service. And here this SNS works on something called as publish subscribe. There will be a topic. Say how this SNS works. Uh, SNS means simple notification service where you can send messages using text messages to mobiles, email notifications, and also messages to web applications. Simply, you can push notifications, all these notifications. So here how it works is SNS asks you to create a topic. Topic is nothing but just a name. Now let us call our name as alerts. Since we are using with CloudWatch, we want to get a notification when instance is stopped. I am calling creating a topic called alert. It's just a topic name. And now I'll add a subscriber to this alert. Like how you subscribe to YouTube channel, subscription. If you take a subscription of magazine, whenever a new edition is there, you'll get that. If you subscribe to YouTube channel, when there is a new video or something like that, you'll get a notification or you'll get it in recommendation. All these things will happen. The same, we will create alert and we will add a subscription. Subscriptions or emails. Sorry. Okay, we are here. By default, it's coming like that. Okay, there will be topic name. You will add subscription and topic name. Let's say alert. the topic name. And then subscription, you can add phone numbers, emails, or HTTP endpoints. These endpoints are URLs of web application, right? And publishers. Publishers will publish into the topic. Here publisher is CloudWatch event. Here we can add publisher as auto scaling group or any other service. So publisher publishes message into the topic, and the topic is alert, it has some subscriptions, it will push that to the subscriptions. So let us create this. Create topic first, and we will go for standard. FIFO means first in first out, and for this first in first out we need a queue for our SNS. So let's not go for this now. When FIFO is used, and if you want to deliver message exactly once, and the first inserted messages in the queue will be delivered first. If you go for standard, it ensures that at least message is delivered once. And here there is no pipeline, like only first generated message, the first message that has published has to be delivered, no rule like that. So let's go for standard. And guys, let me confirm with you, am I audible? Is my voice clear? Okay, then thank you. Yes, standard. And the topic name, I'm calling it as alert. Alert, say event alert. And display name, say same event alert. Display name means when you get an SMS or mail, this will be the display name. Encryption, access policy, will go with basic. Only topic owner can use this, and that's it. And create topic. Yes, and now we have created topic but no subscriptions, right? So we need subscriptions to the topic. Let's create a subscription. This is topic ARN protocol. You can add SMS, email, and email in JSON format. You can trigger Lambda functions from here, add SQS. You can stream data, Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose. Right, when publisher publishes a message here, from here you can stream it uh, using Kinesis Data Firehose. And then a platform application endpoint, HTTP and HTTPS endpoints if you're using web application, if you have a web application. And then you can use HTTP and HTTPS endpoints. Let us use email now. Email, and then create subscription. Some from June 1st, 2021, there will be no person-to-person long codes. So something related to SMS notifications. So let's go to topics, event alert is, and here pending confirmation. It's not yet confirmed. Confirm subscription. I have confirmed the subscription. Let us refresh. Okay, confirm now. So SMS topic is ready with my email as subscription. Now if I add this SNS topic in my cloud watch events, then I'll get notification when I stop instance. And then specific operations. This time I'll say start instances because I have already stopped the instance, I guess. Okay, instance running. So let's add stop instance then. Stop instances is the event name. And when I add this here, you can see event name stop instances. What happens when in EC2, when source is EC2, when AWS CloudTrail makes an API call, when this event name occurs, when stop instance occurs, CloudTrail will make a API call to events, CloudWatch events, and then it will trigger or invoke the target. Target is our SNS topic and event alert. Create rule. We have created rule, and if you want to disable active, if you want to pause it, you can pause, and then I'll stop the instance. When instance is stopped, I can see in CloudTrail, it will be logged in CloudTrail. View full event history. Test event pattern. Let's refresh. So all these things we have created a subscription, created a topic, And now we have stopped the instance, so not yet logged. Let's go and check EC2. It stopped, and CloudTrail, yeah, stop instances is there now. And when this event uh, comes here to the cloud trail, it will make an API call to CloudWatch events. And we have added a target. Target is SNS. I should get a notification. See event alert. So event has stop event has been occurred. Okay, that's about CloudWatch, and this is a new addition. They have added in recent times application monitoring, service lens map. This is already there, and now this resource health is also they have added a new thing. See, if you have your application and service lens maps allows you to monitor different nodes of your application. You can see how different services are connected within the network. You can monitor the network traffic, etc., using this service lens. Application monitoring is there, and insights we already know. Uh, Insights, container insights, Lambda insights, application insights. And if you want insights from logs, we have this insights, CloudWatch insights. Okay, that's about CloudWatch, guys. And any doubts regarding CloudWatch or any other topics? And we will start a new topic called CloudFront. It's a CDN, Content Delivery Network. And under services, we can see this CloudFront under network and content delivery. VPC, after VPC, we have CloudFront. So what is this CloudFront? As I said, it's a content delivery network. It's not a new thing. Content delivery networks are already there. Many third-party vendors are providing this uh, CDN, content delivery networks. Akamai is one provider, CDN provider. Uh, Content delivery network. So what this content delivery network will do is it will cache the content of your server. Why? Why? Because they want to, if you say you are launching a web application, say for example, it's a news website. In this news website, say for example, a news website is located in some US, and the Olympics are happening in US region. And this news website related servers, etc., will also be there in the US location, cloud's US location, right? Their servers also located there in cloud's data center. And now they will be posting related news related to Olympics. Say for example, some Indian guy won a medal in Olympics. So suddenly what happens? Lot of traffic to access the pictures related to that news, or videos related to that news and other details related to that, a lot of traffic goes from India, and actually servers are there in US. Then what happens? Latency is one issue, and also cost, bandwidth costs. Traffic is going from one country to other country, and there will be something like we have a concept of this roaming, right? So similarly with internet also, when server is serving to some other country's network, there will be ingress and outgress charges. So that is one thing. And also latency. So it's far away region, and also so much of traffic is going to those servers, and if server has to deliver to all of these clients, then latency, and to improve the performance, this news website has to end up adding more servers, by either by using auto scaling groups, something like that. So rather than that, what this web application can do is they can opt for CloudFront, content delivery networks. So how this CloudFront operates is, see, let's see, do we have a picture here? No. So, okay, how the CDN works? It caches the content which is frequently req- in the nearest edge location. And while talking about AWS regions, we talked about regions, availability zones, and also edge locations. Edge locations and points of presence, right? Say AWS global infrastructure. All these are regions where AWS is available. So go here. We know about regions, availability zones, local zones, wavelength zones. We discussed about all these things. And if you see here, they say around 230 plus points of presence or edge locations are there. And 218 plus edge locations and 12 regional edge caches are there. So what is this? These edge locations are used for uh, CloudFront content delivery networks. And while talking about transfer acceleration with S3 also, we discussed this thing, edge locations. They are present worldwide. And when you opt for CloudFront, what happens is, if that traffic is coming from Indian region, and actually server is located in US region, only the first request will go to the server, and after that your edge location, the nearest edge location to this Indian region, will cache that. So let us go here and understand. Okay, let's say we have our servers, this particular news channel. They have their servers which are EC2 instances, EC2 servers, and also their S3 buckets. They have these videos, image, everything in S3 bucket, and also their web application is running on EC2 servers. and they also have using S3. They are also using S3 to store images, video, etc. Let's say S3 bucket. So their web application is running on these two services. And these are located in US region. And with this recent thing in Olympics, where Indian guy has achieved some medal, a lot of traffic is coming to this particular news channel from Indian region. So they are trying to access images, videos, and other information related to that. Other static web pages and videos uh, and also images. So traffic is going from here to EC2 servers and S3. And so if they don't use content delivery networks or CloudFront, AWS calls its a content delivery network service as CloudFront. If this web application is not opted, it's not using CloudFront means, then all the traffic coming from this region hits the S3 bucket, either S3 bucket or EC2 server. So we know that S3 bucket can be globally accessible, and also S3 bucket can host static websites. Say if their website is a static website, then they don't need EC2 servers also. Just S3 bucket is enough for them. So the traffic will directly hit the S3 bucket and request for the related content. And if that much amount of traffic directly hits the server or S3 bucket, which is enabled with static web hosting, then they have to send response that will reflect with lot of bandwidth costs and also incur latency delays. And we don't want that, so we have opted for CDN, CloudFront. So let's call them CDN, and we have opted for CloudFront now. So what happens is the first request coming here will go to CDN, and where these CDNs are there all over the world. These edge locations contains these CloudFront networks or content delivery networks. Say in Mumbai region also we have a CloudFront. So first it will go to CDN. Since we have opted for CDN, now the traffic generating coming from this Indian region will not directly go and hit EC2 servers or S3 bucket. It will first go to CDN, and from there to S3 bucket or EC2 servers. CDN routes here. And what the CDN will do, for the first request, it will direct to server, and server will send response back, and CDN will cache that response. The static response, images, videos, HTML pages, these kind of static data CDN can cache in its memory. Now the second request, third request, 100th request, then onwards, now CDN will not direct the traffic to EC2 or S3. CDN has cached it. It has saved in its cache memory. So directly from CDN, say second request. This is request, and then response. Response will come to CDN, and it is routed to clients which are requesting for uh, certain news from the server. This happens only first time. Next time onwards, what happens? Say user 2 is sending a request to CDN. Now CDN will not route that to EC2 server. CDN has this data now. So CDN will direct directly to the user, to the client. So now CDN where it is some region nearer to this country. It can be Mumbai or it can be any other city where AWS maintains its CloudFront network. So now what happens? All the traffic will not go to the server. No bandwidth costs, no latency issues. They will not pay for bandwidth or ingress outgress charges. Instead, they'll pay for CDN or CloudFront. So many third-party vendors are also there. Akamai is one example where web applications use this content delivery networks. Why? Because they want to present, they want to serve. Servers need to serve worldwide, but servers are located in some region. So based on the uh, origin of the traffic, CDN will be allocated. Cloud distribution network or content delivery network. Sorry. Content delivery network is a distributed one, and based on the origin of the traffic, it will assign a nearest CDN, and CDN will cache the static data, and from there the next request will be served by CDN but not from the server. Okay, clear? Any doubts? And in AWS, these content delivery networks are called as cloud fronts. Let's go and try to create one CDN. Create CloudFront distribution. So they have changed the console for CloudFront. Previously it was a different one. Maybe sometimes they don't change for all the users. Maybe you might be seeing a different CloudFront page, but options will be the same. They have changed the console. Okay. The first thing it asks origin domain. It can be a EC2 server or S3. Let us choose S3. You can add elastic load balancer, media store containers for video streaming, media package containers for the same thing, for video streaming. We know that S3 bucket can do static web hosting, so we can use S3 bucket. Say let's use this one, 360 2021 bucket, and then origin path is optional, so we can leave it. So what is this origin path? If you want to append any domain name to your CloudFront uh, network name, then you can use origin path. Then name of for this origin, this one, S3 bucket. A bucket must allow public access or use only origin access identity. Meaning what? So this means, see now what we are doing. Suppose I don't have a server, my website is static one. So S3 is enough, right? So this news channel is maintaining its static website in S3 bucket. And when user sends a request to this bucket, it has to send response back. And we know that. Now we are opting for CloudFront. So user now should not reach S3 directly. User request should hit CloudFront, not S3. And CloudFront has to access S3. So this has to happen. However, there are a lot of tools available online these days to track the origins identity. So if someone able to know the origins identity, now they try to access the origin directly. For privacy reasons, we don't want that. We don't want users from internet to directly access S3. They have to access S3 website via CloudFront. So if I am particular about that, what I can do, I can uh, enable this. Yes, use OAI, origin access identity, to access the S3 bucket. Only certain origins. Select an existing origin access identity. So you only some registered URLs can reach your S3 bucket. So if you want to allow public access, then all. So if you want to allow only some registered URLs to visit your S3 bucket, then use OAI. Bucket can restrict access to only CloudFront. Mm, Here, yes, I update bucket policy. Select and create an OAI. So the procedure also is a bit different. You have to create an origin access identity. Previously, in previous console, it's not required. If you just disable it, uh, that's it. It will not ask origin access identity, etc. Of course, it will ask you to update the bucket policy. Why? Because we should update the bucket policy to grant permission to CDN only. If any other request coming from outside internet should be denied. S3 bucket should deny access to all the traffic except the request coming from the CDN. Only CDN access or CloudFront access should be there. Now they have added a new thing to create UAI. So create an access identity. So let's create one. Create. Okay, that's it. Creating is nothing but generating some path like this, right? So they have changed the method. Previously, it was just updating the bucket policy. Now they have added some origin access identity too. So what is this? Restricting access to S3, restricting public access to S3. Access has to be only through CloudFront. And enable origin shield. So what is this origin shield? Enabling this origin shield means to protect CDNs uh, or to make CDNs highly available to improve the network performance. If you opt for S, it will ask origin, shield, region, etc. Let's say no. So you want to ensure that the user request should hit the cache, CDN cache, a content delivery network. It has to hit the content delivery networks. Suppose if latency is there, if CDNs are also busy, why? Because all the applications use CDNs or CloudFront in AWS. If content delivery networks are busy serving so many users, so if you enable origin shield, then it will increase your network performance and makes it highly available, and also assigns CDN which less latency. So that is enable origin shield. And additional settings. So these additional settings are related to origin, like S3 bucket, right? Our origin is S3 bucket. Now traffic will from the internet will go to CDN, and from there to S3. CDN will try to connect with S3, or CloudFront will try to connect with S3. So regarding that connection attempts, the number of times CloudFront attempts to connect to the origin, in our case it's S3. It's default 3. If it is EC2 server, sometimes maybe server is down, maybe under maintenance or reboot. So in these scenarios, it will make 3 consecutive attempts for the connection. And CloudFront waits for response. For the default is 10 for 10 seconds. So if response is not coming, then it will makes a new connection attempt. And response timeout, keep alive timeout, it's not applicable to custom origins. However, what is this response timeout? Cloud front waits for response uh, for 30 seconds. So this and this are same, connecting and getting response. Connecting means connecting to server or S3. Now getting response. So now CloudFront directs the request. Response has to be there. Response either HTML page or image or a video data. So that response timeout is 30 seconds. It will wait for 30 seconds to get that response, and keep alive timeout. So we are connecting to source or origin. Origin can be EC2 server or S3. And if you want that connection to be active for certain seconds, then you can configure keep alive timeout. So default is 5 and you can set up to 60. And then we have other things, default cache behavior. So this is also this is their default cache behavior, cache key and origin request. These are there already in previous console also. Uh, but now they are more detailed, I can say. Previously they are partially available, especially this cache key and origin requests. So we will talk about these things and create a CDN and next class, that is on Monday. Okay guys, see you on Monday, and bye bye. Happy weekend. Bye.